Hello, everybody. Welcome to January of 2025 in the Circle. Today is a very special additional hour to our regular programming so that we can start the year off together with mindful mastery. So, what mindful mastery is, that is emotional self-care for high-achieving entrepreneurs. So, that's you. And that's you more than anyone else that I know. And so I'm excited to be able to welcome Petra Beumer with us today. Petra is a mindful living expert. She actually you live in Santa Barbara, yes?
Yes.
Yes, and she is the founder of the Mindful Eating Institute. She's got over 15 years of experience with what she's going to be working with us on today, which is understanding stress, mindful techniques, emotional self-care strategies, and then planning for all of that. So Petra is a facilitator, not a lecturer. So be prepared to jump in and be a part of this. And for anybody who's watching this on the replay, thank you for taking care of yourself as well. And Petra, I will turn this over to you.
Thank you, Linda, and hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I have a very loose outline of things I'd like to cover, and looking at the issues that you put in the chat, that's very helpful. Thank you. And we will be practicing a mindful pause and a mindfulness meditation, maybe in the middle, and one has to go in a half an hour. That's fine. So, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness, in my opinion and my definition of it, is being intentional, being aware, and being present in this very moment. And oftentimes we find ourselves either in the past or the future. And what we really can practice is being aware of what's right in front of us over and over and over again. So this is not easy because the mind wants to go in all directions. I would like to remind everyone, I'm not in the circle yet. I hope I'll join you eventually. But high achieving entrepreneurs, I mean, I am so impressed with what you have accomplished. And I believe emotional self-care is key. And I see time and energy management are issues everybody's dealing with. When I worked at the California Health and Longevity Institute and also worked at the Golden Door Resort and Spa, which you can afford and you should go to, best resort in Southern California, there were 40 women like yourselves, high achieving, super successful, and they came to unplug and downshift. And the first night, I would give a little intro and ask those 40 women who's good at taking care of everyone else. Well, 40 hands went up. And then I asked, and who is good at doing this for herself? Guess how many hands went up? 2. So, yeah, yeah, 0 or 2. And it's a female trait. I think we're wired that way to take care of others. So I want to just quickly jump into the time and energy management. And I feel it's more about energy management, not so much about time. And if you could check in with yourselves and also share, unmute yourself and just freely share, when do you know you're reaching maximum capacity? I personally feel I'm starting to get annoyed, fatigued, my back hurts, I get a mild headache, so I know time to down regulate. Can I hear from some of you how you are gauging that it's time to take a breather and pause? Anyone?
Brain fog.
I can start.
Yes, brain fog for sure. Thank you. Yes, Nidu. Yes.
So definitely inflammation. My body gets so inflamed when I'm overwhelmed or stressed.
What does that feel like, inflammation to you? What is that for you?
It's my entire back will hurt from my lower back all the way to my neck.
Yes. So it's almost nerve pain, right?
Yes.
Yes, I understand. So we're all women. I don't have children, but I'm sure some of you, most of you do. If we had a little girl, with us, or we were the elders in a circle, and young women would show up with those symptoms of brain fog, fatigue, inflammation. Would we say, what, just ignore it, keep pushing? No. What would be our advice? Honor those symptoms, listen to your body. A friend of mine who's a therapist as well said, a lesson in life comes as a whisper, a yell, or a 2x4. So we want to listen to the whispers. In order to keep going at the high level that you're at, it is critical to say no when you feel it's time to say no. Really honor it. Don't push beyond what your body is telling you. It's so beneficial to have access to your inner reservoir and also build in mindful pauses throughout the day. I highly advise high achievers to have a decompression ritual at the end of a workday. You know, divers who take deep dives, they can't just shoot up and come up for air. They need to decompress. I feel when you know you've done enough for the day, come home, whenever that is, have a downshift decompression ritual, maybe shower off the day intentionally, turn off the phone, and then change into beautiful goddess loungewear. So the subconscious mind knows, oh, it's time to relax now. And I'm sure, ladies, would you agree that in order to be highly successful, you have to also access more I would almost say masculine energy of pushing through, accessing that part of us that we all have, and then transitioning to the softer side so we can relax and help our nervous system to come down from that. Any thoughts or comments about that? I'd love to hear. What are your downshift rituals? What are your transition rituals? Do you just, I'm not judging this, but do you just collapse with 2 glasses of wine and binge watch Netflix? I've done it. Or do you have an intentional practice, a ritual where you say, okay, here's my robe. I'm going to invest in this most beautiful kimono, which one of my clients did here in town. And she couldn't get out of her head for the longest time. Super smart, high achieving. And I taught her that we have that other side in us. I mean, goddess is an overused term, but it is this beautiful, softer, feminine side of us that needs nurturing. So I'd love to hear from you. How do you practice that? Transitioning from on and off. Kimball.
So every day, 15 minutes before I leave work, I do my list for the next day. So I'm not thinking about it. I call it the final 15. I've been doing it for years.
I like that.
It is getting everything down on paper to organize me for tomorrow. Sometimes it takes 30 minutes, I'm not gonna lie. But once I've done that, I turn off my computer, I leave my phone in the charging stand, and I hang out with my dog and do a walk, his dinner, exercise, all the things that I do at night.
Yes.
And
bravo.
I do not take my phone into my bedroom.
Thank you.
It's
excellent.
not even in the same room.
Okay.
And
great.
I sleep incredibly well. Have been for years.
Thank you for sharing that. And anybody else before I share a few more tips? Thank you so much, Kimball. Anyone else? Yes.
Well, I
Molly?
work from home most of the time now since the pandemic, and I'm in the office today, but most of the time I'm at home. And so I'm regularly wearing loungewear when I work, or sweats, I should say, sweats. So generally when I'm done working for the day, I'll just get up from my desk, which is in the front room, and then go to the back room where the TV is, and then crash on the couch with the cat on my lap and watch HGTV for a while, just to kind of change my mindset.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, I love home renovation shows.
Yes, what do I like? I don't know, not cooking shows, which some of my clients love, but we all have our little things that work for us. I like a practice that I call bookending the day. You may have heard this, starting our day with an intention, which I do. I have this little deck with ocean view. So I grab my coffee, stand on the deck, and I see what comes. Today was about being creative. And of course, I was excited about this talk. Other days, it could be, may I be kind and gentle with myself or others. May I cruise through the day with joy and ease, whatever it may be. So set a beautiful intention for this particular day. And then at night, you bookend your day by listing 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things you're proud of, which we sometimes don't acknowledge. And also lately, I started adding what was my favorite moment of the day. And I do that before I drift into sleep. Little things, but they work. And maybe reading inspirational literature, reading something that helps us see the bigger picture. A long time ago, I read a coaching book, and one of the exercises was to write your own eulogy, which was like, oh my God, this is daunting. However, it makes you reflect on, what do I want to be remembered for? I don't want to be remembered for, oh, Petra is a type A, she works herself into the ground. Or do I want to be known for, she is kind, she truly listens, she knows how to take care of herself. It's a good exercise that when you feel it's a good moment to do this, just think about what you want to be remembered for. And I'm sure all of you have role models of women who are able to balance this high achieving business behavior with downshift rituals. Come see my Goddess Downtime Loungewear at Mirror. I will, Linda. I wish. I'd love to come. She's posting this. So not skipping meals, super important. Our brains need protein. I recently listened to a registered dietitian's talk about that we need 100 grams of protein per day. I'm not even close to that. So I just bought a really, really good protein powder to add to my shakes. But I'm not a nutritionist. I'm more about self-nurturing and being compassionate with ourselves. Does anyone, again, only if you feel safe sharing this, do you have negative talk, negative self-talk? Are you harsh with yourself sometimes? Do you beat yourself up for mistakes? Yeah. So here comes the Buddhist philosophy, which I love, which is not throwing the second arrow. What it means is when we're already hurting, let's say we feel we have quote unquote failed, not adding a negative statement on top of this, rather self-soothing and say, well, that wasn't ideal. What did I learn from it? How can I implement a different strategy next time? So not throwing the second arrow, I feel, is super, super helpful. So I'm looking at the topics. Can some of you share this thing about struggling with being super successful? I'd like to hear a little bit more about that and maybe how to reframe that. What is it like to be
I'll give it a try.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
I think the way I would put it is probably a little bit like high school, maybe, or being a kid, is there's an external definition of something that's very important in society, and then there's our individual definitions of what that means.
Yes.
And I think for most of us, those are probably not really lined up super well. But if you're visible with an assumption of you meeting kind of an external definition, then even in simple things like, so I'm going to one of my customers' board meetings on Thursday. So, how do I present in the board meeting? Which version of successful business person is necessary in order to meet people where they are and in their understanding and be able to move things forward, especially if we might need to deliver information that, you know, maybe not may not be the way they're thinking about the world at the moment. And so you're needing to help guide along a shift in understanding and perspective and trying to accomplish that and thinking about, well, how do I come in the door, be true to who I am? I feel plenty successful. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
But needing to be able to present in a manner that I don't know how else to describe it, really. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying. But
No,
yeah.
yeah. Can somebody maybe elaborate on that? Thank you, Kathy. And then I'll speak to it. Well, I have a proposal that you could practice a very, very short centering meditation before you go in and just dive into your strengths and authenticity. And whatever you are delivering, deliver it from the heart. I don't know if this makes any sense, but the more authentically we show up, I feel the better others can hear it. So I don't know, Kathy, if that is helpful at all. The centering before I present or I do anything, I always go inside. I take a moment and say, I let me show up as my authentic self. Let me deliver my message as kindly and efficiently as I can. And with going in with that specific energy, I feel this could be helpful. I don't know, Kathy, if that's of service to you or not.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. And I feel, yes, how do you measure being successful, right? And what are the parameters? Who defines your success? It's not just the $1 million, right? It's another, there are many, many other elements, I'm sure. So let's see what I want to address. So I had time management and energy management. I had importance of setting and maintaining boundaries. Is that an issue for anyone, or are you pretty good at it? Nikki, tell me.
I'm not the one who put that on there, but I'm absolutely terrible with boundaries. So both personally and professionally, I have massive issues with boundaries, even though I try really hard. But
okay. What gets in the way? What would you say? Is it what is holding you back of saying, enough, or this is not where I want to go? What makes it so hard for you to do that, if that's okay to ask?
definitely the people pleasing aspect of letting somebody down and saying no. And since I trust all the people in here, although half the people I feel like are in my group, but definitely a lot of therapy around growing up. In order to earn love, I had to be the certain person or whatever else. So that's what makes a family boundaries really hard. My family of origin is because in order to be loved by them, I always had to do stuff for them. So lots of therapy around that, and I still haven't conquered that one or even came close to it. So
thank you, Nikki, for sharing that. And it's interesting in my work. I mean, I work on, people find me for weight loss, but I really teach women, mostly women, to become the person they needed the most, meaning the reparenting, remothering, and working with our inner little girl, which I had to do. And I did this for years with my mentor, of fully having our own back and coaching ourselves the way we would coach maybe a 7-year-old or who never had the privilege to say, this doesn't feel good, I don't want to do this. And letting go of how others perceive our truth is mastery. When we speak our truth from the heart and say, I don't want to come to this meeting, I had a meeting scheduled tomorrow and I could already feel I don't have the bandwidth for it, so I canceled today because it wasn't that critical. And I really don't care how it's received, because I said it kindly, I said it firmly. And a little book to read is The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. He wrote the Four Agreements, which you may have heard of. So The Mastery of Love, he's not a great writer, but the wisdom is good. And yeah, it comes down to how our relationship with ourselves reflects in everything we do. So that's the work. This is really the inner work. And obviously, you're all doing really, really well. And if you can be kinder and more supportive of your, metaphorically speaking, your inner child, the better it is for yourself and for everyone involved. Cultivating a supportive network, that was one of my talking points. Sounds like you have that down. Power of positive self-talk and affirmations. I don't take that lightly. I don't mean throwing out just overused mantras. However, starting our days by looking in the mirror and maybe saying, "I've got you, girl," and whatever is on your plate today, I trust you will do it very, very well. So having our own back, again, is part of this remothering and reparenting concept. Any thoughts before I keep talking about that? Any insights? Yes, Linda.
You reminded me of something that I say inside of my head quite often, and that is, I am always exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
And even on the harder days, I probably use it more on the harder days than on the good days, to be
Yes.
quite honest, is I'm always exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so trusting in that.
Yes.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I really like what you said. And one thing that I am always listening for, especially among my friends, is anything that they're saying to themselves that they would never say to somebody else.
Never, never. I know.
I told them,
Yes.
do not treat my friend that way. You know,
Yes.
it'll make me stand up against you to support my friend, supporting yourself.
So there is an exercise that you may or may not want to take on, but I do it when I'm hurting emotionally. I hold my face. And there is research behind it, like touching our own face and saying something, honey, I know this is hard and I've got you. And I follow Dr. Kristen Neff's self-compassion research, and she has this little self-compassion practice where you put your hands on your heart, and just say, ouch, this is hard. This is a moment of suffering. And then you say to yourself, may I be kind to myself in this moment, and may I give myself the love and compassion I need. I do this, it works. And self-compassion is not self-pity or being self-absorbed. It's really giving ourselves that kindness and warmth that we need, especially as high-achieving entrepreneurs. And you are looking at a recovered type A German woman. Germans we push. And I know how to turn that on, but I've learned that I need to turn it off when needed. And it feels good not to push. So I'd love to hear from some of you what your emotional self-care practices are. What are your
don't mind me diving in. I was actually just trying to type this out, but since you asked, you reminded me of several years ago, was going through some stuff. I don't know why. I drove past a yoga studio. I went past yoga studios forever and never could slow down enough to participate. But for some reason that day it spoke to me. So I went ahead and joined. And
Yes.
I've been doing that now for like 3 years. Best change ever made. But one of the things they have you do, either at the beginning or the end of the practice, is you put your hand on your heart and your hand on your belly and you concentrate on your breathing. And so I
Yes.
noticed after quite a few months of doing, going to classes, that when I would start to get stressed, I immediately would go back to that and hand on the heart. And it was calming. So in one
Yes.
hand, it's a good practice to get into, but I think in the other hand, anything that we find ourselves getting into that we find to be a calming routine, if we can do that on a regular basis when we're well, we'll have that available to us when we're losing our minds.
That's wisdom, Bridget. And I have to disclose, I was a little nervous. I thought, my God, these women they have their lives together. What am I going to share? And I thought, well, I may not be in the circle yet, but I'm sure many of us or many of you may be experiencing, of course, stress, right? Internal difficulties. So I hope some of the things I'm presenting hopefully are planting a seed for you. And so thank you, Bridget, for sharing that. Linda writes, techniques are music, remembering to breathe. Absolutely. Another thing that you may want to pay attention to is when you start contracting physically, energetically. That's a stress response. You may want to get up and open up and maybe even put your hands towards the sky and just step away from where you're sitting or what you're doing and just open up and release the tension. And of course, breathing, hand on heart and belly, I feel, and on the belly are critical. I gave a talk, a little TEDx talk, not on the red carpet, but it was an interview on La dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing and what we can learn from the Italians. I lived in Europe and Germany for half of my life and then 30 years here. And I've never encountered the crazy busyness and inability of Americans to just say, I've done enough. And it makes me sad. So my invitation to you is, life is to be enjoyed. And if you haven't added more play and fun to your schedule, like the yoga thing or a dance class, or just blocking your calendar for an hour of me time where you say, I'm not going to do anything. I had a moment at Lago di Garda, which is a lake in Italy, where I was able to do this for an hour. I wish I could bottle this and sell it. I was at the hotel, grabbed a cappuccino. My type A pilot boyfriend was running through the village, and I finally had this hour of just being there and watching life go by. And I feel when we do that more, we're even more productive. So building in these breathers, even minutes of unplugging are critical. So the cost of speed, just keep in mind, let's question a sense of urgency. Is it really that important or can it wait? And that is time management and social media and being hyper-connected. It's not very helpful. The pink tones, of course, create this dopamine stimulation, and we feel we need to react. Maybe changing the way we relate to technology would be also a good thing. So let me just look at my
Kimball, what have you got?
I have one more thing to share about some of us
Yes.
have
Yes.
raging cases of ADD. I don't know if I'm the only one, but meditation is very difficult for me. And someone taught me the coolest way to turn off my brain, and I use it all the time.
Okay.
Close your eyes. Do it right now. You will see a color. Focus on what that color is when you close your eyes. Usually something like a red or a brown, or it's a dark kind of, but you can change that color. So you can begin to think about your favorite color or what you would like that color to turn into today. So when I'm trying to be on, try to turn that color to yellow. And you just focus on that dark, but you're thinking about something because you're trying to change the color. And you can completely clear your mind if you do this for about 5 minutes. And you'd be amazed at the colors that you can change it into.
Beautiful. I've not done that one. And I want to just reiterate that meditation is not sitting in a blissful state with no thoughts. We're going to practice one in a moment. It's labeling our thinking. It's just witnessing, oh, there's the same thought for the 500th time. And then gently coming back to the breath. That's it. It's not being without any thoughts. I came up, you can laugh, it's okay. You know, I came up with this thing at night, just sheep herding my thoughts, meaning bringing the thoughts into the barn one by one, and then giving them a place to rest somehow by the haystack. Who knows? I invented it for myself. It works. There are many, many techniques. So who is up for a brief mindfulness meditation? Yeah. So if you're sitting cross-legged, I invite you to put your feet on the ground and let's close our eyes together. And I invite you to just start by taking deep breaths in and out and let your breath follow its natural rhythm. Nothing to do and nowhere to go. And imagine landing in the now. Deep breaths in and out. And the mind, of course, will continue to produce thoughts, which you can label thinking, and gently come back to your breath. You can put one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Make contact with your body. And label thinking. Come back to your breath. Intentionally unplugging from the external world and tuning into your inner world, where your wisdom resides. Notice parts of your body that are relaxed, warm, and at ease. And notice areas of your body that may be a little tense and contracted. And send some loving thoughts and relaxation into those areas. And in your mind's eye, you can visit your favorite place. Could be a lake, a forest, or a meadow. And let your mind rest. Allowing to downshift and downregulate by breathing in and out. Let's do this together in silence for a minute. And then with the next breath, gently transition back to full awareness and bring some movement into your body. Move your shoulders, wiggle your toes, or stretch, whatever feels good. So, I'd love for you all to create some new self-care rituals right now. Take a few minutes to write down what you may have had on the back burner that you know would be life-giving and so beneficial. It doesn't have to be anything major, but I'd love to hear from everyone. So take a few minutes. If we had a larger group, I would pair you, but we're just a small group. So bye, Carol. She needs to drop off. Okay. So in my case is I'm a dancer. I haven't danced in a long, long time. I will book a dance instructor appointment by the end of the month, because that would give me joy. So what will you be creating and implementing? I'd love to hear. Could be small. Anyone?
I'll take a stab at it.
Hey,
I already had picked it for the start of the year, but in the winter, we're skiers. So to prepare, we have to do our lake workouts. And so that's what I've been doing to prepare in that space. When I go skiing, there's no phones, there's no work, there's me and my really, really bad skiing. And that keeps me focused and it gets me outside so I don't die. So that's what I do. And that's what the winter looks like for us.
just you and the snow.
Yeah, about
Beautiful,
it. And
Michelle. Good job. Beautiful. Yes, thank you for sharing. Anyone else? What would make your soul sing? What would make your heart happy? Come on, ladies. I'm sure. Linda.
So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm not sure if it makes my heart and soul sing. However, it always does me good. And I'm going to schedule out all of my Pilates classes through the rest of the month and get them solid in my schedule so that they don't get moved around.
I love it. And that's a very important strategy, to book it for ourselves and treat those appointments as if they were doctor's appointments. Make them non-negotiable. You deserve it. Good. Anyone else? I'd love to hear one strategy from everyone.
It's Kathy.
Kathy.
Hi. For me, historically, I could only work with very limitations because of other responsibilities. But this year, I've really been putting a lot of priority on being able to work on the fun projects because I'm creating some different new software packages and I really enjoy that. So that's what I'm doing this year is I'm saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't do these other things because I really want to. And I had a blast this past weekend doing it and just not worry what anyone else thinks. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that.
I love it. Very nice. Very good. Okay, maybe the others are not so willing to share, and that's okay. Just to reiterate, I just wrote an article for Authority magazine. It was an interview, and I just wrote 3,000 words. It just came out. And the topic was how to learn to finally love yourself. And I kept it pretty scientific and not too flat. But we touched on this earlier, starting our day with an intention. I love that we have so much potential for each day and not wear ourselves out. So starting our day with intention, giving ourselves permission to say no, we touched on that, unplugging from the external world as needed and putting our well-being first in line as much as we can. And ending our day with gratitude, we said that as well. Question a sense of urgency and taking mini breaks. Do you allow yourselves to eat meals without being in front of the computer? Is anyone a desk diner? No judgment.
No.
Oh, nobody. No, of course. We've all done. I wish we would take more time for ourselves that way. I've done this work so long, I cannot eat and watch a movie anymore. I can't. I just either watch the movie or I am with my meal. And it took years to get there. Trust me, trust me. So practice being present with what is. which could be really listening to the other, being present and mindful with our meal, being attentive to our needs, to our emotional needs and physical needs, and not ignoring them, are so important. Also, happiness researchers found that when we do something nice for somebody else, our well-being shifts. You may have, of course, noticed this throughout your lifetime. So just remembering that as well. These are a few of the things I teach and remind people of. Whatever I'm sharing is nothing new. I just remind you of your inner wisdom. So allow that inner wisdom to come in. It only comes to you when you give it space. When we rush through the day and we are I almost said hyper efficient, it can't come in. So we need to create space. It doesn't have to be an hour, but noticing, like we said earlier, when do I feel I'm maxing out? Taking time to unplug for a moment. And I have a few things that I want to read to you. One is a poem, and one is my favorite self-care quote, and then we have time for discussion. My favorite self-care quote is by Brianna Wiest, and she says, "True self-care is not chocolate cake and soft baths. It's making the choice to build a life we don't need to regularly escape from." So building a life we don't need to escape from, to me, is major, which means not rushing through the day so we can just crash and collapse at the end of the day and maybe use food or alcohol to numb. And I just want to remind everyone, I used to like wine a lot, and I'm really, really mindful of drinking alcohol because of the research. It's not good for our brains, especially for women. It's just not good for us. So just an invitation to be mindful with drinking. It is so seductive and so easy to say, oh, I want my glass of wine. And what I do is, Kathy just wrote something. What I do is sometimes I feel, oh, I had a rough day, or I'm tired. I want to have a glass of wine and French fries at the Honor Bar. And then I park my car and just sit with it for a moment. I said, okay, honey, do you really need alcohol and French fries? Or do you need something else? And then I realized what I really need is I need to be alone, and I need to maybe take a bath and relax. And then I drive home and do that. And sometimes I choose to have that wine and the fries. So a good differentiator is, am I celebrating or self-medicating? And if we self-medicate, that's okay too. Just having compassion, say, well, that's the best I could do today. So ending the day with, yeah, I did that. That's fine. Never, ever, ever beat yourselves up, ever. So shame and guilt, I would trash permanently. So I'm going to read two beautiful things to you that they just resonate with me. And one is, in many shamanic societies, if you came to a medicine person complaining of being disheartened, dispirited, or depressed, they would ask one of four questions. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? When did you stop being comforted by the sweet territory of silence? I love that. And the other one is a poem it's advice from Maria Sabina. She's a Mexican medicine woman, and she says, "Cure yourself with the light of the sun and the rays of the moon, with the sound of the river and the waterfall, with the swaying of the sea and the fluttering of birds. Heal yourself with mint, with neem and eucalyptus. Sweeten yourself with lavender, rosemary, and chamomile. Hug yourself with a cocoa bean and a touch of cinnamon. Put love in tea instead of sugar and take it looking at the stars. Heal yourself with the kisses that the wind gives you and the hugs of the rain. Get strong with bare feet on the ground and with everything that is born from it. Get smarter every day by listening to your intuition, looking at the world with the eye of the forehead. Jump, dance, sing so that you live happier. Heal yourself with beautiful love and always remember, you are the medicine. Meaning we have the medicine that we need deep, deep inside of us. So my dear high achieving entrepreneurs, I know you've got the business side down. So I'm just inviting you today to nurture that other part of you, which is the wise, soft woman that needs beautiful self-care. That is the end of my delivery, and I'd love to discuss a few more things. If you have any thoughts or questions, I'd love to hear those.